One of the worst mistakes that small businesses make in the government contracting space is thinking we have to go it alone. And I've been guilty of this myself multiple times, right? Now I talk a lot about PTACs and Apex accelerators. I'm like, hey, go in, they're great people. But when I was doing my first company in particular, I was like, poo-poo. I was like, they're no help to me. And it was a bad mistake. Well, similar, we make mistakes on going after contracts with federal agencies. Oh, we should prime and we should go all by ourselves. Why would I ever team? Teaming is about building a relationship. It isn't just about getting the work done, but it's about building long-term relationships. And that's a really important thing, right? And so the mistake we make where we're thinking we have to go it alone, or the only right way to build our company is to go alone, that's a mistake. And I want you to stop doing that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in today's training, right? And this isn't just for companies that are just getting started and, they don't know what they're doing. And, don't mistake my advice for advice that's just for people who are just getting started. People who are getting started have a huge leg up than I did and maybe you did, because they're getting me giving them advice right at the beginning, right? So it's a great chance. But the advice I give is also for $100 million companies that are graduating out of small and going large, right? They popped out of small and they're going large. And this idea of thinking about, wow, I need to, how am I going to fight against the billion-dollar firms? Well, if they think about teaming, if they think about not going it alone, then they will also look down, if you will, at small businesses and team, right? And so it's really important to understand this. And then lastly, is that I work with these large firms, and as they're graduating and they're trying to figure out how to do that, they have to put in place a strategy for how are we going to grow in that middle sector area, couple hundred million, that whole range of, let's say, 50 to 200 million. We're really trying to get you traction as a brand new large. And they have to put a small business strategy in place, or this is what I teach, right? You got to put a small business strategy in place so that you can go toe-to-toe with Booz Allen on the large side, but then you can also team with smalls to really go after some of that small dollars. And so today we're going to be talking about going after that, finding teammates, etc. So let me just share my screen really quick and my slides. And today we're going to be talking about how teammates are your path to contracts. This is a unique thing in the federal market that I love, is that we call it competimates. One day you're a competitor, one day you're a teammate. And you know that. We all know that with each other. And so we work together. So in today's training, how government contractors can find teammates in the federal market, I'm going to break it up into three main sections. One part will be show and tell, and two will be, I just talk. So first thing is, why are teammates important? It's really important to understand, and anything you're looking at is to first go, why? Why does that matter, right? Even when I'm planning my training, I'm like, well, why would you care? Why would they care? The people who are showing up on training. And so I want you to think this same thing. Why are teammates important? When you truly understand some of the value of teammates and why they're important, it helps to make the next thing so much easier, right? How to find teammates is the second thing I'm going to cover down on. And that's work. It takes time to find teammates, build relationships. But if you know the value of them, then you're going to put in the work to find those teammates and build those relationships. And the last thing I want to do is I just want to give you an example of an email email tips for landing meetings. And then I'll give you one example at the very end, right before closing remarks. If you follow my left-hand menu, I'll show you an actual email. I've done a ton of other training on how to write emails and get in and start meetings, etc. And so today I'm just going to give you one example. But that's what we're going to cover down on today. If you don't know who I am, my name is 𝗕𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. And that's what you're going to be able to learn today, is some skills around how to have repeatable, predictable results of finding teammates and building new relationships. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our Government Contracting Success newsletter. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers. It's the largest newsletter in the government contracting space on LinkedIn, and it's because we keep providing stuff of value. So I'd love for you to go in there and be part of the community. And the last thing I just want to say is thank you. If you registered for training, we had a lot of people register for training today. If you register for training, first off, thank you. It's a simple thank you from you to us and my team, so I really appreciate that. Second thing is, when you register, LinkedIn will send you reminders so you don't miss the training, but also they will let other people know, other government contractors, know that, hey, we've got training going on, and this is how you build your network in LinkedIn and on social media, right? It's by letting other people know what you value. Okay, let's get rocking and rolling, beginning with why teammates are important, right? And these are just some of the tips I gave you. I give you 5 here that we're going to talk about. But the first one is for companies that are just getting started out. Especially, this is the place where if I can set your mind or put you in a good mindset, right? That when you're just getting started out, this is one of the most important times to understand the value of teammates. Because later on, I have to convince you to change. But right now, if you don't know, then I'm going to tell you how great they are. Because if you're just getting started out, teammates will help you learn the ropes within the federal market. I've heard in my past, right, in the past 20 years when I'm being a government contractor, I've often heard people talk about how federal sales is complex and there's a lot of moving parts and all this stuff. I'm like, well, so is anatomy for doctors, and so is an engine. I was a mechanic when I was 18, working on cars. I actually worked on vacuum cleaners too when I was selling them. Those are complex. Everything is complex until you're good at it. I say this thing with love to my kids, but they're like, oh, this is hard. I'm like, yeah, because you suck at it. We all suck at what we're not good at. And we start out no good at it, and then we get better as we learn the skill, we practice the skill. And so here in the federal space, teammates will serve as your mentors, unofficial mentors, right? Undocumented mentors who will guide you through federal sales. They'll talk to you about the FAR and other things. They'll talk to you about contract vehicles, any of these things. They'll bring you on their team so that you can start getting your first revenue, right? And that's the value of teammates. Most importantly, they will get you in the door. The second thing is for firms that have been around longer, right? Say you're 5 million plus and you're trying to go after bigger opportunities. I've got multiple customers like this who are trying to go after larger opportunities, and say they're used to playing in that $1 to $5 million total contract value size, and now they want to grow to that next level. Well, that means you have to kind of go after bigger contracts. And so let's say 20 million or even $30 million total contract values for a $5 million firm. That might be a lot bigger than they're comfortable doing. Well, Teammate can make sure that they've got the resources they need. I know a company that is solid in ASL, American Sign Language, and they can do all of the work, totally support a customer. But now they're looking at some opportunities that are actually like $100 million opportunity for sign language throughout the federal government. And it makes total sense for them to bring on competitors and now make them teammates on a contract, because now they all can benefit going forward. So teammates are great for pursuing larger opportunities that your past performances just aren't strong enough to be able to say that you can handle. The third bullet, fulfilling small business subcontracting goals, is a little shout out I'm doing for our large prime contractor friends, right? They have, if you don't know this, in general terms, large primes have to set aside 30% of their contract value to small businesses, very general terms. Well, that means they need to find qualified small businesses. And so for largest, they're looking for teammates like you. And sometimes you want to be in showing how great of a possible teammate you could be. And so these guys have small business contracting goals or a small business contracting plan they have to submit to the government that says, hey, you gave us $100 million. This is how we plan on spending 30 million of it with subcontractors in support of your mission or your requirements. If you don't know this, by the way, the reason the government does that is because the government has this mandate to try to make sure small businesses get a piece of the contracting dollars. But sometimes they award contracts so big that it's a little bit out of their hands. And so they're delegating that responsibility to these large primes, saying, hey, if you're a large prime contractor who's won a contract over a certain set of value, total value, then you need to help us by subcontracting out. So that's teammates are important on the subcontracting side for larges. The fourth one is getting into new agencies. And this is really important for companies that have experience. It's less so for anybody that doesn't have experience, like less than $2 or $3 million or something. But for anybody who's starting to get bigger and they want to grow beyond the current set of customers they have, including billion-dollar companies, if they're trying to get into new agencies, one of the easiest and fastest ways to get into an agency is to find teammates who are in there that are open to working with you, that you can team with them as a subcontractor, right? And begin to get in and get that experience within that agency that maybe you didn't have. Let's say you've always been in the Air Force, but you want to get in the Navy now. Well, it's not a direct one-to-one transfer because they're both military. But if you look over there, you could bring all your defense experience team up with somebody who's got Navy experience where they deal with, on land or ashore and afloat type situations, meaning on a boat or something. And so you can team up and get into a new agency, build some of your own past performances as a sub, and then you can go after contracts as a prime. So getting into new agencies is a great reason for teammates. And the last thing is, and this is something I'm literally doing yesterday and today, is covering down on weaknesses. I'm working with a customer going after an opportunity. It's probably $60 million opportunity. And in there, you'll see in a minute, I'll show you, but in there they have a requirements gap analysis that we filled out. And when we look at that, we go, oh, there's certain areas that they're weak on. And so teammates are perfect to turn to and say, hey, tasks 1, 2, 3, and 5, we can do. Task 4 and 6, we're weak on. Can you do that? And so teammates are awesome for being able to cover down on your weaknesses to make sure when you do respond, you've got a strong team that really shows the government you can nail those requirements. Okay, so let's talk about how to find teammates. So when you're looking for teammates, I'm going to show you a tool that we just built. It's a free tool that's great out there, but it pulls data from the federal sources, so it's perfect. But I just wanted to give you an idea of when I go looking for teammates, here's what I tend to do. And I put an example for each one of these. First thing is keyword alignment. So if I'm going out to look for teammates that are going to cover down on my weak area, then generally that's related to a keyword. And so here I put in defense travel system. That work that I talked about trying to do, actually, let me shift over here. So this is called a requirements gap analysis, and I'm not going into it far, but I use this to understand an opportunity to decide how strong are we. You can see the purple over on the right-hand side where there's a 5. As we score the yellow rows, it gives us a score. So just a quick aside. But what I do, though, is I look in here and I start saying, well, where are we strong? And for example, let's just say we're strong in all these task areas, but when I get down here, there's a travel office requirement. This is just an example, but there's a travel office requirement here. And it says I need to have understanding of systems like defense travel system. And I know that. I go, okay, that's a weak area. I want to find teammates who can cover down on that. And that's why I put it here. And so I'll look. The other one is set asides. I might sit there and be going after an opportunity that is set aside for SDVOs. And I want to find somebody who I can go with. Or maybe I have an opportunity that, let's say it's a bigger opportunity, 20, 30 million or something. And I've got a 49-51 split in my favor as an SDVO to go after this. But what we discovered is that we still need another partner to cover down on something. And this other firm is pretty large and they're really good, and I don't want to reduce their 49. So if I'm an SDVO, I might go look for another SDVO. And if you don't know this, that's called similarly situated entities, meaning we both now can cover down on the 51%, even me as the prime and them as a sub. It still is able to cover on the 51%, so that the subcontractor that is a little larger in the first one can keep their 49%, if that makes sense. But sometimes you look for those tags. In the last one, example I use is location. So let's go ahead and take a look at this really quick. And by the way, I put Atlanta because CDC is down there. Right? And often CDC or some other agencies say, hey, we want you to have an office nearby. And so we might find a teammate down there and go, hey, can you lease me a desk? And once they lease me a desk, I'm able to say, yeah, we have a presence down here. It's the silliest thing in the world that the government does, but they do it. And sometimes you want to find people in there. So let's go ahead and look at this live really quick. And I'm just going to close this since it's duplicated. So I'm going to come in and I want to find teammates. This is GovConinaBox, by the way. It's a new tool we released. We're really excited about it. We'll tell you a lot more about it later, but it's live. Go check it out at GovConinaBox.com. But I want to find teammates. And so I'm just on this home page. And in here, we're calling it company browser at the moment. It's we might change that to teammate browser. But in here, let's walk through a couple of those examples that I mentioned. So the first one is defense travel system, right? So I might come in here, defense travel system. And then if you can see this, if I zoom in a little bit, if you see this, we've got the ability to just say all these words, any of these words. What I want is the exact phrase. So I want to see if there is anybody who is able to do that. By the way, so then I'm going to hit search on that exact phrase. And so across the entire 350,000, only 4 companies came up, which is fine with me. I'm just looking for a teammate at the beginning for that particular thing. And so then I can scroll down, and if they've got a little pop-up, I can look at, I know what the work is I want to do in that spreadsheet, that RGA, the requirement gap analysis. And I can start looking at the capability narrative here for these firms and see what they do, right? I'm looking, this one here is pretty cool. Here's defense travel system, so I can see that. They're doing defense civilian pay system. This is telling me, hey, maybe this company is familiar with some of the groups. Unfortunately, I noticed they're not an SDVO. So let's look at this other one. I'm looking down here. So if I click in, I'm going to click in and look at this company and just see, I want to see if they've got defense stuff and if they can fit as a team. And so I might look into their, right here, if I click on this little icon, I can go out to DSBS because all the data we have in this tool is just outside. It's government data. I don't like creating my own data source. It doesn't make any sense at all. You only want to have to enter your data once, and that's in SAM and DSBS. But here, I'm going to come down to their narrative really quick. I just want to see. So here, I can see these guys are an SDVO. They do travel system and logistics support. This is some of the stuff that I noticed when I was looking at what needs to be done. It doesn't mean they're a lock for a teammate, right? I'm trying to find teammates, but it does look like, you know, this Alliance Global Group looks interesting. So I'm just going to hit, you know, a little heart on that, like it. And I'll close that because I can come back later and look at it in my favorites. But so as I'm building teammates, I can look in keywords like that. Let me just reset the filter. So another way I might be looking for teammates is socioeconomic statuses, like I talked about, right? So if I look at small business type, I was looking at SDVOs as an example. So if I click SDVOs, right now there's 356,000. I don't know if you can see it at the bottom, but 356,000 small businesses registered to sell to the federal government in SAM. So these are active small businesses, in DSBS. And so SAM is for everybody who wants to sell or do business with the federal government. DSBS, which is an extension, are all the small businesses. And so that really filters down a pool of almost 1 million entities down to 350,000. But anyways, here I'm saying, show me SBA certified SDVO SBs. And when I search, okay, so there's 18,000 SDVO SBs. So there's a ton. And that's way too many for me to look at. So if I wanted to, I could begin to whittle it down more. Let's say I'm looking for SDVOs that are also STARS 3, potentially on a, well, so I could just click there. They're on STARS 3. And if I filter that down, there we go. So now I'm getting a better pool. And I like the number 123. So now I'm looking at SDVOs that are also 8As. It is interesting. This company here, Right Direction, has 8A, but they're not there. I'm not going to really dwell on it, but I am looking at it, right? I can start looking at these companies and look at their narratives and begin to build a list. And you'll hear me talk about this at the end, but you want to build a list of teammates who look good. And so it begins with you just searching for them. Let me reset the filter and just show you one more time the third search, which I forgot already. Oh, location. So this is pretty important, right? So I talked about, actually, I'm going to try something even harder because there's a customer that I was supporting where they're trying to go after work in a naval installation base called Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane. I think it's Warfare or Surface. But anyways, they're in Crane, Indiana. And so I'm going to try to type in Crane here. Well, that didn't work. Why? Oh, that's funny. Crane, Missouri. It must not be a city. So that one I would have to work harder. It's too hard for me to do now because I did take the time to figure it out. But Crane military base, I got to just figure out where that is, naval installation. But let's go back to my original one, right? Atlanta. I'm going to click on Atlanta. Of course, it's in Georgia, but let's just make sure. So there's an Atlanta, Michigan as well, apparently. Okay, so there's 2,700 firms in Atlanta, and that's cool, but it's still too much. And so in here, I might sit there and say, well, I'm looking for a company that is does travel related. I'm just going to use the word travel because remember, I was looking for defense travel system. That was just part of a bigger requirement of travel support, right? So I'm going to search on travel. Okay, there you go. That might have been a little too tight, but I got 10 companies right there in Atlanta where I can look at it and say, okay, that works good. I might look at it from a different angle. And this one, I'm going to be pushing my examples, but here I'm searching SharePoint. So say I'm trying to do work that's SharePoint related down in Atlanta and CDC, I can find these companies. And the cool thing is, if I look in, I can find out if I'm a SharePoint company trying to find a teammate, I can look in and start seeing they're just dropping in SharePoint plus housing inspection. I can tell this company is not an expert at SharePoint just by looking at it because they got too many things. But maybe they got traction. Maybe they got relationships. I'm going to do one last search that just reset this filter really quick. One last thing that I do is say I'm looking for SDVOs, as I showed you a minute ago. I might say I want them to have experience. So I kind of accelerate the search. So I'm going to go from 356,000. And right here, I can say, show me experience. And when I do, I'm able to shrink that down to 4,800 SDVOs. So remember, there was 18,000 certified SDVOs, but only 4,800 of them have experience. And what experience means is they either entered commercial, state and local, et cetera, into DSBS, or they have prime contracts in USA spending. And so it's good stuff. Okay, so let me go back to the slides. So this is finding teammates, right? You can find teammates as you're moving forward by doing that research. So we understood the importance of teammates. Now we talked about how to find them. And let's talk about last few minutes, how to send an email. When I'm looking at those people, how am I going to reach out? The first thing I want to do is I want to back up for 1 second, 2 slides, and just remind you, when I say what's the importance, you can also think about it as like, who am I trying to reach? Am I trying to reach a small business that can help me go after large opportunities? Am I trying to help find a business that's in a particular agency? And so when I do that, of course, that will inform how I search for teammates, but it will also inform what my email looks like. So here's my 5 tips for you on the perfect emails that will land meetings with teammates when you're trying to reach out to them. The first thing is, don't put a ton of words into your email, right? Don't try to teach them everything about your company. No one cares about your company. They care about themselves, which I'll talk about that in 1 second. But they care about themselves and the value that you're going to bring them. They don't care about you telling them everything about your company. Later, they will care, right? There's this great line. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so first you want to show them you care. And one of the ways you can not do the opposite of that is don't come in trying to sell them something or be overly informative. You just are trying to get 15 minutes of their time. That's the whole point of an email when you're reaching out, cold calling, first time you're trying to meet with somebody, is you're just trying to say, hey, can I get 10 or 15 minutes of your time? Literally in 5 to 10 minutes, you should be able to decide. And more importantly, they can decide whether they want to keep talking, right? The whole idea of 30-minute or 60-minute intro meetings is not good. 15 minutes is perfect. And then you just reschedule a second meeting if it makes sense. The third thing is a lot of us sometimes get caught up in having these big signature lines, ton of words in there. And you'll see in a second how I just shrink it even more. When you're reaching out, you're just trying to get a meeting. You don't want to cause a lot of friction or distraction to the reader's eyes, right? And so a large signature line that's making me have to understand it, et cetera, it's too much. Examples of this are where you drop in every single tag that you have, or your dropping tags are okay when you're reaching out to the government. But when you're reaching out to teammates, they don't really care at the moment. They don't care if you're a veteran. They don't care if you're a minority or a woman or a man or whatever, right? They just care about what's in it for them, that value. And so another example in the signature lines is where we put these awards that we've received. Who cares? Get rid of those. They're distractions. You want them to pay attention to your ask, which is for a meeting. The next 2 are about the actual email. So your subject line needs to be concise and clear, and I'll show that to you in a minute. But it really needs to make it so easy for them to go, yes, I want to click on this, or no, I don't. You don't want to put them in a position where they have to open the email to understand what you want. And I'll show you what I mean. You don't need a lot of words to do this. And then the body, it only has one ask. I want a meeting. Can we have a quick call to find out if it makes sense? By the way, forget all about in-person meetings. Those are not worthwhile for the most part anymore. But most importantly, in the beginning, first call or 2, don't waste your time or theirs. But the body has one ask for a quick phone call, right? A quick intro meeting. And you want to give them 4 times that they can choose from, which I think I can show you right now. So here's an example of an email. So the subject line says Oasis opportunity in the Army. And what I'm speaking to is I already know that they're in the Army because when I was finding my teammates, that's who I chose from. I already know because I just looked at GovConinaBox that they're on Oasis and I found Oasis teaming partners, right? And I'm saying opportunity. So I'm talking about their contract vehicle and their customer. And in the subject line, it says opportunity, right? It's very just straightforward. And they're either going to click on it or they're not. Either one's okay. And then in the body, it's just, would you be open to a 10 to 15 minute intro call about an Army opportunity? It's on Oasis and we're looking to find an ideal opportunity. Okay, I know what you're talking about, an ideal partner. And then if yes, here's 2 days or 2 times, let me know if those work, right? And you pick any 2 days, any 2 times, it doesn't really matter. You're trying to give me 4 options to choose from to meet with you. And I fine, 10, 15 minutes. It's Army, it's Oasis. I'm responsible for Army and Oasis. Let's talk. And then in the signature line, I don't say anything. I just say my name, my company. Who cares about even my title, right? My name, my company, and then for the fun of it, I put connect with me on LinkedIn with a hyperlink to my LinkedIn profile. So if they want, they can quickly click on it and go do some real research about who I am. It's like, oh, I see. We've got 50 connections in common, blah, blah, blah. All right, so that was a sample email there. By the way, take screenshots because I don't send the slides out. I just don't have time to send the slides out. But here's what I want you to remember from today's training. When you're planning this activity to find teammates, make sure you're clear about who you're trying to reach. If you're a large business, you're trying to reach smalls. If you're an experienced business and you're trying to get into a particular agency or pursue a particular opportunity, if you're just getting started, et cetera. And then build a list of 20 potential teammates. You can use GovConinaBox. We built it specifically to make it easy for you. We use it many, many times a day ourselves. And we were like, let's make it free for everybody. And the last thing is when you send an email and when you're getting ready to talk to people, know they're with them. With them stands for what's in it for me, right? So they are asking when they're opening your email, what's in it for me to meet with you? And that's how I want to talk to them about what's in it for them is potentially they can get on an opportunity and get a piece of the revenue. All right. So that's kind of how it's lined up there. Hey, if you're interested in getting support growing your company, we have a BD Accelerator workshop. You can learn more about that on GovConChamber.com. Go ahead and check that out over on our website. As you go through your day, just remember, government contracting and finding teammates, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.